Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you are having a great Friday, and hey, everything's going well for you. We have a great show planned for you where the entire segment is dedicated to, well, current events, and we have none other than Popzara magazine's managing editor, Mr. Nathan Evans, will be joining us here shortly. And yeah, hey, we're going to talk about a lot of things, including everything about Lego, Harry Potter, some Microsoft Xbox stuff, some E3 stuff, the Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, WWDC 2019, and more. It's going to be a fun show, folks. So with that being said, first things first, computeramerica.com. Check that out for the video portion. Check that out for, everything that we talk about here on the program today. We'll have links up after the show. And computeramerica.com. You really, really, really should go check that out. So, we're doing some things behind the scenes. Sorry about being distracted. But with that being said, I think that's just about it. Want to go ahead and... You're right, and actually, I'll fix that as well. I thought I changed that, but I guess I didn't. So, let's see. So, we'll change the banner in just a moment. So, with that being said, let's go ahead, bring on our guest, Nathan Evans. Again, Popzara magazine. Let's, and of course, this interview, I guess, is brought to you by Skype. Nathan, how you doing?
How's it going, Ben? Welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. And if you're in the right areas, happy Gay Pride weekend.
There you go. Hey, and all those at the same time. I like it. So, Nathan, so thank you for joining us on the show. And I guess before we say anything, how you been? Everything going okay?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's good you asked because I've had this ache in my belly, and I don't know what it is. And I show the doctors, and they say, you know what? You might want to cut down. Oh, wait. But what are we talking about?
All right, good. So you're doing good. You're doing good.
I got my sense of humor.
Absolutely. So with that being said, everyone, if you haven't heard of Nathan Evans' Popzara magazine, you're in for a treat because he's a longtime correspondent and very, very happy that that he joins us here every single last Friday of the month. If you would like to set your clocks by it, and Nathan, I'll let you go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and Popzara. What is it that you try to accomplish for your readers?
Well, thank you. First of all, world peace is out of the question. So we Denmark already has that covered. No, but as you know, Ben, Popzara is a entertainment slice of life, a Bizarra of pop culture that talks a little bit about gaming, talks a little bit about movies, a little about books, and yes, a little bit about tech, which is why you like me so much. Mm-hmm. And I am basically the distillation of my editors who come from all swatches of life to talk a little bit about this and that. And I'm usually doing it with a sense of humor, although occasionally I tread a little too controversial for some people, which is fine because that's who I am and I got to love myself and live my truth.
There you go. And hey, and actually, just pulling up your website here for anyone out there who wants to check out the video portion, we're going to do that. Before we go any further, I will say that I didn't, but the illustrious Craig Crossman did just last weekend. Go check out Brightburn. I had never even heard about it, I guess because I get so few commercials in my lifestyle, thanks to AdBlock and watching Netflix and things like that. I didn't even know this was a movie, and you have a review up of it. How did you review Brightburn? Because I've heard good things. Like Craig liked it. Just to throw that out there. What did your cast think of your crew?
Craig liked that Jupiter Rising movie. So what does he know?
Yeah, I know you can't account for taste. But how did Popzara like it?
Well, that's interesting. You should ask because we actually have 2 reviews of the movie up. One by Travis Sepula and the other one by Christian Sterling. And ironically, one person loved it, one person did not.
I see that. One got an A, one got an editor's choice.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that's going to be very divisive because what happens is basically the movie is a suppositional what if Superman was inherently evil instead of being inherently good. And so, if you read comic books a lot, which I don't, but I know of them, this is a story that has been done to death in comics. Like, what if Superman had been evil? What if he had been born in Russia? Such and such. But
right.
It all falls to the execution. And I think the reason I have 2 reviews up is because if you look at it, one person is coming from a more comic book background, another one is coming from a more movie background. And so, again, this is something we're going to start seeing more of as comic movies continue to. I think they've reached their apex. I think the Avengers Endgame has tapped it out. I think at this point, I don't know if there's going to be a bigger comic book movie than Avengers Endgame in our lifetime. I just think after 12 years of build-up or whatever it was, I think that's it.
It's definitely going to be hard to maybe not replicate it, but it's going to be hard to at least top it because, like you said, 12 years, 20 some odd movies build up. I mean that was billions upon billions of dollars of essentially advertising for just one movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even know if you'd call the final product a movie per se as a sort of a collection. It's something else. It requires a different way of looking at it. It's not like the James Bond films where you don't have to have seen all 30 films or 20 films. You need to see this. So with something like something like Brightburn, you don't even. It's a new property, but it's essentially just a what if again with Superman, and most of us are familiar with the Superman mythos. So. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think another counterbalance to that would be the upcoming Joker movie that's coming out later this year, where it's a standalone film that talks about the Joker, a character we all know, but we still want to know more of. So,
which is, and you might know this better than I do, but we've had things like Suicide Squad, we've had Deadpool, who's kind of an anti-hero, and things like that. But have we had a standalone film of just a villain? We've had Venom, which is also like an anti-hero, but I don't think we've had a lot of movies about just a villain.
No, we haven't, and because usually villains are only as interesting as their counterbalance to a hero. Yeah. I think you can almost count The Dark Knight, 2008 Dark Knight as a villain movie. You have Batman being secondary in his own film to the Heath Ledger's Joker. Yeah. But I will say this about Brightburn. I should mention that it's not directed by, but it is produced by James Gunn, the guy who wrote and directed the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Yep. And for those who don't know, Gunn actually has a history with this sort of genre. Gunn also did a movie called Super, way back when with the Dwight from The Office, Rainn Wilson, where he played a demented superhero who would kill people with wrenches. And it was really much rated R. And I applaud Disney for having seen that movie and thinking, you know what, let's give him a Marvel movie. But I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm sure the audience will, that Gunn was fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, rather embarrassingly, because of old tweets. Yep. Now, again, anybody who knows James Gunn knew those tweets. I mean, this is a man who made semi-pornographic superhero films. Yeah, so it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
And my understanding of that whole thing was that back, years upon years ago, when James Gunn was, kind of finding his niche, finding his audience, he was very much kind of like the divisive humor, the shock humor. Like he would just say things just to say things.
He worked for Trauma Films. Yeah. Are you familiar with Trauma?
I am not. No.
Okay. I won't get into the details, but trauma films are disgusting, gross, filthy, basically, if you're a 10-year-old boy, they're amazing. You have movies like Toxic Avenger and Poultrygeist. So the idea that James Gunn would be is somehow now offensive is ridiculous. But I will say this: when Disney fired him, Warner Brothers was smart enough to snatch him up to do Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah.
And after that, Disney wisened up and rehired him, so he will be doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So if I were James Gunn, I would have told him to take a long walk off a short pier for embarrassing him like that. But, money talks.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely a great story that he's worked on. So I'm happy that he's coming back for the third one to, kind of give it a good trilogy.
We had Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It was called Thor Ragnarok.
That I really did like that one too. But I will say, with all that being said, movie aside, we have a bunch of topics. And by the way, I wanted to bring up one of my own off topics because I don't think you guys might have, you guys might not have. But Computer America, just to plug ourselves here, we have a review up of the Impossible Burger, the meat substitute burger.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I've been trying to find it. I can't find it anywhere around here.
We had to go to Whole Foods. We had to go to Amazon because Amazon has everything. Whole Foods.
Well, what do you think? I haven't seen it. What do you? Burger King's supposed to be the first chain that's supposed to have it, right?
So the way I explained it, and I apologize for anyone out there who's heard me explain it like this before, but the short and skinny of it is it's not going to be the best burger you've ever eaten. In fact, I would probably put it on par with any McDonald's, Burger King, Carl's Jr., Jack in the Box, enter your fast food chain here. It's that quality of burger. Like,
can we just say something?
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who think that burgers are what you get at McDonald's, Burger King, those are not hamburgers. Those are something else. Those are mutations.
Well, that's what I wanted to make clear, was that this is not going to be, I think anything above like a $10 burger, this will not compete. Like, this is not that kind of burger. But it's indistinguishable from kind of those lower quality burgers, but it's completely plant-based, which I like because that means that you can completely replace, think about how many burgers in the world are sold from fast food chains and things like that. If this burger substitute can replace all those burgers, that's going to be great for maybe not the meat industry, but for the environment.
I thought about that too. The only major fast food place that actually has a veggie burger is Burger King. And they have their Morningstar burgers where they, substitute the bean burgers. Mm-hmm. And I've had them before. I've had them, I've had more than I can like. When you get enough sauce and you get enough dressing on them, you really can't tell, you don't really care because again, a McDonald's and Burger King burger are not really hamburgers. They're poor substitutes. Yeah. And even though they advertise 100% beef, you do know though that McDonald's meat and everything, it's filler. It's mostly filler. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of I don't know the name of what they call it, but yeah, it's not beef. It's something else.
Talking about like the pink slurry or whatever?
Yeah, it's something. It's something. And so the idea that it's mostly taste, it's mostly been seasoned to taste like the way it is because the meat's not tasty enough to taste. If you've had a real burger, which you had on a grill, the beef tastes delicious. It does. Fat tastes great. Yeah. It's bad for you, but you're going to go to hell with a smile. But the Impossible Burger, though, I got to tell you something, though. I think one thing that people who are really adamant about trying to replace beef have not taken into account, and I think as someone, you've met me and everything, I'm not fat, but the people who are health conscious, is that there's more to a burger than just taste. There's the protein inside of it. There's the carbohydrates, good. The way it affects your body. It's a lifestyle. It's like cigarettes. It's in a way it's just nicotine. We'll just give nicotine patches. Well, that will stop people from smoking. Well, that's not true. We'll do vaping. That will stop people from smoking. It's all nicotine. Well, it's not true. It's a combination of everything. And I wonder if we're past the point of no return where people are they just want their disgusting fatty burger.
So, and I will say this, that I did look on the label, on the nutrition constants and things like that. If you're hoping to eat 3 or 4 Impossible Burgers instead of one McDonald's burger, you are getting a worse deal. Like, you will get fatter because these things are almost the same as regular burgers, and they have as much protein as regular burgers and as much fat as regular burgers. It's just it comes from a plant instead of an animal, but the nutrition's about the same. So don't think you can replace one for 3.
But you said the big thing, protein, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there are different types of protein, and different types of protein have different effects on the human body. That's why if you go to the store, if you go to a protein supplements, they're very much labeled soy, gluten-free, or whey protein. And I will tell you this: if you are a healthy man, if you are a masculine man, and I'm sorry for people who believe in the umpteenth genders, but if you are a physical man, a cisgender man, you should not be ingesting soy protein. You should be ingesting whey protein because your body is built to take advantage of animal proteins. You are an omnivore. You are a human being, and human beings are meant to ingest animal products. We can get it from different sources, sure, of course, but if you ingest a lot of soy protein, it will have less effect, and it will modify your mood. You will have mood swings, and whey protein will give you a very different experience than soy. And so I'm wondering, with the Impossible Burger, what type of protein is? Being plant-based, I'm sure it's plant-based, so it's probably soy protein.
I do not know for certain, but I have heard about soy whey. When I got into a little bit of a health kick there and going to the gym, we always made sure to get whey instead of soy for the shakes and things like that. But again, I think as far as just the Impossible Burger goes,
how'd it taste though? How'd it taste?
With a slice of cheese and some mustard, which is really all I did. And I did try it straight, but who just eats a straight burger with no condiments? That's
I was gonna say,
it's good.
How was the texture?
It chewed, taste, and I even fed it to the dog. The dog was none the wiser. It was just think again of a McDonald's or Burger King burger. It's just that. That is what you'll get. But again, no cows were killed in the making of this burger. It was it was a really good experience. The price just a little high, but hey, they're just starting out. So there you go.
I will say this: if this causes about 10% in a decrease in cow production, right? Then I think that would have been a good sign. As long as there's no repercussions, because one thing people do, Ben, when they calculate when people take statistics, they say, oh, the production of cow meat causes global warming, or the production of this causes, deforestation. The one thing they're not understanding, it's much like coal and electricity. It's like, oh, if I buy a Tesla car, I'm not emitting gas. Yeah, but you're using more electricity, which in turn adds more CO2 to the atmosphere. I want to make sure that it's neutral. So if, and the land that we could farm, that would be take up to grow the plants for Impossible Burger would be the same. Would be coming from the cow generating land. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I'm sure that that it really is, and I've done a bit of research into the back of that. Essentially, think about it as you eat the stuff in a lot of ways. You eat the stuff that the cows eat, and you don't have to run it through growing an entire cow just to get a burger. Instead, you're just taking the food from the cow's mouth and putting it in your mouth. It's just a lot more efficient.
I have one more thing to say about this, and I'll keep it very short and pithy. I don't think the Impossible Burger is going to be the end all we think it is, but I also don't think it's cow. I'm a big believer. You heard it here first. I believe we're going to go to bugs. I'm one of those people. I actually think that insects are going to be the transition that people want.
As soon as people get over their squeamishness, because I heard that Starbucks had some kind of food additive with bugs to turn their shakes red. And as soon as people found out,
I think it's from beetles or something.
And as soon as people found out, they stopped drinking it. It was like, but you drank it and you drank it and you liked it before, but now that you're like, ew, that's gross. Like, what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look, if you want to get over it, just go. If you like shrimp. Look at shrimp. Shrimp have eyeballs. They look like bugs. Lobsters, it's a giant bug. You're ripping its thorax out. It's the idea that we have. It's just that once bugs become delicious, then the problem's solved. You just got to find a way to make it. You just need to find a way to make it tasty. And that's what happened with sushi. People are sushi gross. Oh wait, sushi's good. Yum, I like it now. That's what's going to happen with bugs. Yeah. You're not going to eat a cricket that looks like a cricket. You're going to grind it up. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a cow that looks like a hamburger. They don't look like what they look like.
No. And that's definitely getting away from, or I should say, processing your food. So it's not what you start with. It's just something that you can kind of pick up.
I'm all for bugs. I think grasshoppers and crickets are the way to go. I'll just say that.
There you go. Okay, so now with that rousing conversation and crickets aside, let's go ahead and get to some of our main points. And you have a ton here, and odds are we're not going to get to a lot of them. Let's go ahead and start with some of these articles. Which one of these did you kind of want to lead with?
Well, I was going to say, you just happened to pick a weekend where there wasn't much going on. And so half my stories were separated between what I could scrape the barrel, and some were just sort of fun. And I will say this, excuse me. After the show, I got to say this. Let me just get this out of the way. After the show, I have a whole bunch of people coming over, some Popzara, some not, and we are going to go see the new Godzilla movie. And very excited. And we should have a review for it up on the site because one of my guys saw it at a screening, and he cannot come. He's having trouble finding just the right words to talk about a giant lizard that fights a giant moth who fights a dragon while stomping on a city. Like, it should be the easiest thing in the world.
Which is odd because it's a tale as old as time. And by old as time, I mean, 30, 40, 50 years. So, the longest running franchise in movie history, by the way, Godzilla. Are you familiar? Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Where do you stand on the Godzilla question? Godzilla, I'm a fan of the one with where they found the dinosaur eggs in the ice skating rink in New York City or something like that. That was a lot of fun. No. I
gotta go, man. I can't deal with this.
I've seen a few movies. I've read into the universe a bit, but I'm not like an avid. I'm not really an avid fan, but I probably know enough to hang with this conversation that we're gonna have.
Well, let me put it this way. I'm gonna invite your listeners to go to YouTube and look up a documentary, whatever it is, called The History of Godzilla. And I forget the man who did it. It's like 50 minutes. And it is 50 minutes of crazy footage. It's well documented that shows you just how bat crazy this franchise has been over the last 50 plus years, 60 years, and almost 70 years, actually. And there's been almost no consistency in anything to do with Godzilla, with storyline, with characters, with direction, with plot, with tenor. There was no plan. And I think it's a testament to how popular Godzilla is that people just don't get upset the way Star Wars people get upset about Star Wars, or, Avengers people get about Avengers, or Game of Thrones people get. This franchise has existed so long because the fans seem to allow it to be silly in a way, and stupid and crazy and nonsensical in a way that other franchises could never get away with.
So
it's a giant lizard who stops on a city.
And by the way, Cynical Justin, I believe, is the one that you're referring to.
Yes,
the 54-minute video. So
that is it.
I completely understand, like, some experiences, and that's why I really liked some of the Marvel movies, and some of them I didn't like as much, is because some were trying to take it very seriously, and trying to throw drama into it, and then others which I really enjoy, like Deadpool. It's just like, hey, this is having fun with itself. It's a fun premise, and everyone working on the project knows that. And I think Godzilla, even though, yes, there's drama and you're really, a little bit of drama, but at the end of the day, it's just giant monsters beating each other up, which is great.
Well, I'll just, caveat, the first film wasn't considered a serious film, and it was artistic, and it was very creative. It was not an indictment, but it was subtle commentary from Japan about nuclear radiation and the effects of, being a nuclear state. And the idea that, in Japan, the American Constitution, the McCarthy Constitution, forbid Japan from talking about certain things, and one of those things was, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And when that was lessened, you started having serious films come out, and people forget that Gojira, as we know as Godzilla, the original one, was a political film, and it had no bigger aims than that, and it turned into something else, and then it turned into something else again, and it kept turning into something else. But it's a scary movie. It's like Freddy Krueger. Like, the first movie is a legitimately scary movie, and none of the other ones were after that.
And so King of the Monsters, I apologize if I am making you kind of explain this to me, but where in the timeline does this kind of like because obviously there's Godzilla, and they had one like a year or two ago with Breaking Bad dude, whatever. And I think, is this the third one or the second one in this kind of?
You don't know anything about this, do you? That's fine. You act like,
well, I know, like, Mothra.
The way you're responding is how I respond to my mechanic when he tells me what's wrong with my car.
Kind of.
Like, if my mechanic said, you know what, your flux capacitor could use a little oil, I'd say, like, you know what, do it. I wouldn't know. No, but look, long story short, Godzilla movies are basically separated into different periods, and I don't want to get into the history too much, but basically you have Showa period that goes up to the the 50s to the 80s. You have the Heisei period, these are designated by the emperors in Japan. But the American movies are different. So here's all you need to know. If you don't know your Mothra from your Gameron, then here's all you need to know. This is a sequel. Godzilla King of Monsters 2019 is a sequel to two movies. It is a sequel to the 2014 Godzilla movie that was directed by Gareth Edwards, who would go off to do Rogue One, Star Wars. And it is a sequel of sorts to the movie that came out 2 years ago called Kong Skull Island. And it is setting up another movie next year called Godzilla vs. King Kong.
I heard about that, and I heard that essentially King Kong is going to be. Everyone's like, well, how can King Kong even compete with Godzilla? It's like they're gonna grow King Kong to be able to hang with Godzilla.
It's amazing what they nitpick over. But
yeah.
Godzilla fought King Kong before. He fought King Kong. It was the third Godzilla movie, it was called Godzilla versus King Kong. And if that's not crazy enough, that movie was originally supposed to be King Kong versus Frankenstein. So don't
really
just watch the video. I can't explain it.
Okay.
It's just really stupid. But I'll say this. 2014 Godzilla, very beautiful movie. Some people liked it better than others. I liked it. Very beautiful. And biggest complaints, not enough Godzilla. And which you got to be careful, because you think to yourself, just put Godzilla in there. But no one wants a 2-hour Godzilla movie. That'd be like a porno movie without any story. But the fact is, you just can't have monster action. You got to have people. So it's hard to get that balance. So, and another complaint, the monsters were very boring. They're called mutos. When you have Godzilla's rogue, you know what a rogue gallery is, right? Godzilla's rogue gallery is probably the most impressive in movie history next to Batman. You have tons of characters to choose from.
Yeah.
Again, you have the giant Mothra. You have the three-headed dragon, King Ghidorah. First of all, three-headed dragon called King. You have Rodan. You have Gamera. You have Godzuki. You have Mecha Godzilla, made from the skeleton of the original Godzilla. You have tons of monsters, and they went to these cockroaches. Very boring. This movie does not have that problem. And I haven't seen it, but the trailers have made that clear, that it is filled with monsters, filled with action, filled with dumb people doing dumb things. And the other complaint that's been addressed, and I just want to point this out, was the music. And Godzilla has a very memorable theme. And I want to just recommend this to you and your listeners, Ben. The original theme, I think, was from Akira Ifukube. And to me, it was the first movie theme. Like, how you have Superman theme, Star Wars theme? This guy literally composed the original movie theme, the original monster theme. And it's been, almost 60, 70 years old. The other movies didn't have it. For this movie, they had the composer. His name was Bear McCreary. He went back and recomposed it. So yes, the original themes are all in this movie. Like, there seems to have been a level of love and care for Into the Monsters that was missing from the other ones.
It definitely seems like they're harking back, but I think that other than yourself and I'm sure many other diehards, but they won't be able to catch it. But at the same time, the amount of care that they put in with everything that you're saying here, they're setting this, and just like the Avengers and others, they're setting this up for a lot. Like, this is not going to be the last Godzilla. I guess
no! There's, like I said, another one coming out next year.
Yeah, and of course that one too.
Yeah. Look, and that's the thing about Godzilla. You can't really get mad if they mess it up, because there's going to be more. And in a way, that the series is the franchise as a whole is very disposable, but that's what keeps it pliable. And forgive me for saying this, Toho, but Godzilla is like the toilet paper of movies.
What?
You need it. The world of movies needs it, but they're not concerned with the quality. Like you can have a bad Godzilla movie, it will not ruin the franchise. You can have a great Godzilla movie, it does not mean everything's going to be great. The quality level fluctuates so badly, right, through some movies. Again, you're talking about 50, 60 movies. And sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're not. But if they mess up this one, there's always more. There's always another sheet. There's always another role. There's always another Godzilla.
And so you're saying that this weekend you and a bunch of people are going to go see it. It sounds like you're excited.
I'm excited. I mean, mostly because it's an excuse to get together with friends. And honestly, it's not a movie that I'm expecting to go in and be entranced by the acting or anything. It's a Godzilla movie, you know? And in the last movie, they killed off the best human. They killed off Bryan Cranston in the first, 30 minutes. What a mistake. But so I don't care if the giant lizard fights the giant moth and they kill the giant three-headed dragon while stomping over Tokyo, I got my ticket's worth. I'm easy. I'm not hard. I'm not going to quibble over character, but that's not the point. Like, no one watches WWE and says, "Oh, the wrestling's fake. I can't enjoy this." They know it's fake, you know?
You hope so, but
I've
met a number of people in the South that they watch it. But okay,
dare to dream, Ben.
Well, Nathan, I will say that we're already at the halftime, and with that being said, we're going to come back and we're going to go from movie to movie. Actually, Netflix, if you count that as a movie, The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. If those of you remember that, that whole The Dark Crystal puppet movie. This is the next one, TV series. This thing kind of coming out. Everyone, we'll be right back. More Computer America, more Nathan Evans, Popzara. Everyone, stay tuned.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And everyone, hey, if you missed any part of our conversation so far with Nathan Evans, and of course, just if you missed this show, past show, whatever show, we've had a lot of great guests this week, and you should definitely check them all out. Wherever podcasts are heard, simply search Computer America, and we should pop right up. Now, with that being said, we continue on. Nathan Evans, managing editor of Popzara magazine, popzara.com, and, of course, talking movies and just, hey, having fun with it on Friday, which is what I really, really enjoy. And, hey, Nathan, of course, like I said, we were just about to get into The Dark Crystal, because I remember The Dark Crystal. That movie, I think up until about 13 or 14, I thought it was a fever dream. I thought it was... Really,
little did you know it was a fever nightmare.
It was wacky, but like 80s cocaine wacky. What is up with a reboot? Because this is like the last franchise that I ever thought was going to get any kind of love.
Well, a couple things. Not a reboot, prequel.
Prequel. Okay.
And so, 5 years ago, this would have been unheard of. But nowadays, I hate to say this, they're not a dime a dozen, but we've seen this happen many, many times now where an old franchise from 30 years ago will get revived. But instead of rebooted, it'll get continued or prequeled or expanded. Like Star Wars has done this. Mm-hmm. Star Wars has done this. Rocky has done this. Any number of Tron has done this. Any number of movies. But Dark Crystal seems like an unlikely candidate. But it's been one of those projects that's been rolling around for a long time. And the original Dark Crystal, 1982, Jim Henson's first movie, by the way, first directorial debut, was a huge dud when it came out. It didn't do well, and who knew that a movie like this would have done poorly facing E.T.? But the fact is that the movie has become one of those beloved cult classics that I think not only stands the test of time, I think is actually better now than it was 35 years ago. It's a movie of almost unparalleled vision, almost unparalleled imagination. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it in a while, it's a lot of things. It's imaginative, it's inventive, it's exciting, it's scary, it's frightening. The one thing it is not fun. And it is a slog to get through. It's not boring, but it may be the most terrifying kids movie ever made.
Right.
Maybe, I say maybe because the only competition would be Jim Henson's follow-up movie Labyrinth, because it had David Bowie's codpiece. So, which is terrifying in itself. But the fact is that Dark Crystal is a fantasy thing that even today we don't see, like a fantasy franchise that was taken seriously, that was on the level, again, unparalleled imagination. To this day, I've never seen a movie where every frame is meticulous. You see thousands of puppets. Everything you see is real in the movie. It's got a fantastic soundtrack, amazing characters. It is also a children's movie in which innocent people get juiced for their essence, which gets drunk. So it's
Classic.
It's messed up. So anyway, long story short, Netflix has finally taken this out of development hell. They've got who was doing it? Was it director Louis Leterrier, who you may know from the Transporter series, is bringing an all puppet version of a prequel to the Dark Crystal, and they're bragging that it doesn't use CG. But have you seen the trailer?
For anyone out there watching the video portion of Computer America, we have the trailer playing right now in the background.
I mean, it's clearly there's some CG there, but it seems mostly puppets and mostly original Muppets. And I'll just say this, having not seen this series yet, I haven't seen it yet, it comes out in August, just judging from this trailer, this is the most beautiful fantasy series I've ever seen. Just from this trailer. There's more beauty in this trailer than there is in any fantasy television show I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah, there's 100% CG in this, but at the same time, it looks like all the characters and props and things like that was, Jim Henson all the way. So
Exactly. And the cast is, not that we care about the cast, but the cast includes people like
they
Natalie
have a full
Dormer
list here, and let's see. So Helena Carter, Natalie Dormer, Eddie Izzard, Theo James, Toby Jones, and on and on and on. And
Mark Hamill too.
Yeah.
It's got a good cast, but the cast doesn't matter. Like, no one cares about the cast except for Mark Hamill
and Keegan-Michael Key. That's a pretty good get.
The sign of quality right there. You know the movie's going to be good when Keegan-Michael Key is in it.
Keegan-Michael. I like all of his stuff. But so
Really?
Yeah, for sure. But with that being said,
you don't know Godzilla, but you know Keegan. I'll just say this: name one good movie he's been in.
His friend wrote it. What the frick was that? Keegan-Michael.
You might be confusing him with Jordan Peele.
I'm no. Well, I mean, he acted with Jordan Peele and Key and Peele, obviously, but
you're not talking about Keanu, are you?
No, but okay. So there's that one, and I can't name a movie off the top of my head. But
look, the trailer looks outstanding. Like, it looks outstanding.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So there's that one. Movie. So looking at other topics because we're quickly running out of time.
I'll just say this: watch the trailer for Dark Crystal. Make up your own mind. It comes on Netflix August. You'll see it or you won't.
Yep, and I think we're gonna skip over Good Omens too because we could get into that, but
it comes out today, right?
Yeah,
that comes out today. So that's gonna be interesting. Big Neil Gaiman fan. We talked about him a minute ago, and big Terry Pratchett fan. The book is fantastically funny. I know nothing about the show other than it has Doctor Who in it, so we'll see.
We will see. Okay, let's talk about some tech conferences here, and
Yes.
and if you don't mind, we're going to save E3 for a little bit later. Let's
Yes.
just kind of hit Apple, because Apple, and then we could switch into iPod, and then we can go into E3. So
Yay.
the Worldwide Developer Conference 2019. I've heard some rumors. I heard that they were going to be rebooting. Well, at least they're going to be showing off some new hardware for the iPhones. I think they're going to be debuting that there, and some new stuff for the iMacs and whatnot. But what do you know about the Worldwide Developer Conference?
What do I know? I
Yeah.
know about as much as anybody. The idea that Apple would debut new software and hardware, shocking. It's kind of hard because Apple's been different lately. There's been so many leaks that they've almost made these shows irrelevant. And, you mentioned E3 a minute ago. Same thing in a way that there's like the pre-release stuff has really watered down the excitement and tempered, the ideas, oh, we're going to do this. It's like, okay, they're going to show off iOS 13. Okay, fine. Let's show off iOS 13. They're saying, oh, we're going to have dark mode. And I don't know if it was with you I was talking about, but I had an hour-long conversation not too long ago about dark mode and how dark mode has started to come in everything. And it feels like Apple wants us to get excited about dark mode, and I'm cool with it. But Apple, this is not 2011. Everything else has dark mode.
So
And it's just like, we've got copy and paste.
the only thing, or the only people that should be truly excited about dark mode should be those who develop or cut, edit, paste, whatever. Those who use a Mac platform and they're staring at it for 8 to 10 hours a day. Everyone else, it should be, why wasn't this here sooner? And then the people who should be really happy are those who are working.
I like
on
dark
Mac.
mode. I told you, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of dark mode, and but everything else has it because it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so for Apple to be this late to the game is a little interesting to me, to be honest with you.
Happy it's there. So I found this article, this one from The Verge, and just going to pick from it just as kind of the highlights of it. It looks like the Mac Pro is going to be getting a reboot. I'm sorry. So hey, the big Mac towers are maybe those might be coming back. So. Which is good. Hey, it means you can actually upgrade your hardware instead of throwing out the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. But I was also excited about the Mac Mini, which made a comeback, but it completely missed the point when it was so overpriced.
Yeah.
It wasn't just overpriced because I think so. Like Apple has traditionally made the Mac Mini entry level affordable, like $400, and to have like this ridiculously underpowered i3 be $800 is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a good price for that computer.
So far, it looks like, and of course, they're also looking to come out with the new iMac Pro as well, which is going to be about $5,000 base, not upgraded. So you're looking at maybe a $12,000, $13,000 upgraded iMac Pro. Apple's not coming down to meet your price expectations, Nathan.
Apple, enjoy your continued erosion from the computer space.
Unfortunately, because their hardware is, of course, as always, some of the best in the industry. But
it's good until it needs to be repaired, like their keyboards and their screens.
Of course,
I'm an Apple fan. Don't get me wrong. It's just that you can't coast. Like a company needs to continuously innovate themselves, and even if you don't have to create the newest widget, you at least need to be commensurate, at least be competitive on a level that makes me feel like you care about my business. And to bring out something that's incredibly overpriced and underpowered, when you don't have to do that, when you're selling me hardware that's off the shelf at this point, is like you don't even there's that long rumor that Apple's going to start creating their own CPUs again. Did you hear about this? Like they want to replace the Intel chips.
They were purchasing some portfolios and they were setting things up with whatever, but I think it was only for like their iPhones, right? Or was it for their computers too?
No, it was for the computers, and essentially they wanted to go back to the dark days of PowerPC when Macs were not compatible with Windows, and it's there have been two big developments in Apple's lessening of their grip in the last 20 years. The first, of course, with iTunes on Windows. Remember?
Yeah.
When iTunes came to Windows, it's what begat the modern industry. Like people don't understand the modern industry of music and apps began with iTunes on Windows. If Apple had not done that, the history of the PC would have been very different. It would be very different. And the second, of course, was with the introduction of Intel chips on Macs, which Apple rebirthed They renamed themselves Apple instead of Apple Computers, and they became a phone company. But it also allowed Apple computers to be better integrated within workflow stations for people who had PCs. Like, I can't use a PC because of this. Well, now you can. It made it more compatible. It made software development easier.
Right.
But if they go away from that, then I think that would be disastrous.
It looks like they are hopefully not going away from that, and I will say that it looks like at this one it seems like everyone, or at least this article makes it seem like it. I know that there are a lot of professionals out there. We just had our graphics expert here on the show as well last week. A lot of people want to see Apple become competitive on kind of the I would say the working class, the people who actually have to fully render a movie or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like they used to be.
Yeah.
They used to be very competitive on this.
And they mention here that they're hoping that the Mac Pro for 2019 will have things like an 18-core processor, from Xeon Intel. Apple has been sipping, like it seems like they've been more focused on the trendy college student than they have the actual working, production side of their computers.
Well, they seem to have ceded that a lot to the Windows market. The college segment has been competitive with, I don't like the computers, but they've been very competitive with Chromebooks.
Mm-hmm.
The real sufferer has been Windows machines, Windows machines have suffered because people have opted to get either a really cheap Chromebook or a really nice MacBook. And, you have let's not forget, you have this lawsuit where the U.S. Supreme Court has decided that a lawsuit against Apple for being a monopoly in the app world in the app sector can go forward, which is ridiculous, by the way. I don't understand this at all. Apple is under no definition of monopoly, but whatever. And so you also have the introduction of Apple Arcade, which is a subscription service alongside Apple Plus or Apple TV. So Apple's getting into the service sector. And the problem is that the way Apple used to be, Ben, is that to use an Apple software, you need an Apple product. Mm-hmm. Well, there's only so many iPhones and iPads and Macs to go around. Apple Music, which is Apple Music, which is more successful than Spotify now,
yep,
only got that way because it's available on Android, things like that. Like, you need to expand the market. So I, for one, would hope Apple would be competitive, but be competitive in a way that suits them, not like slum it down and to have inferior products, but to offer a superior service and leverage the one thing that they can leverage, which is content and delivery of content, because they do it better than anybody else. They just haven't been competitive, and it shows.
Yeah, especially from the hardware side, and I'm hoping that this is where we see it, because it's not going to be at any kind of trade show. It's going to be at the Worldwide Developers Conference, mm-hmm. where they're supposed to show off the best in the best that they have. So
yeah, it's a fun fun show where middle-aged men wear ill-fitting clothes and walk on stages and pretend to be excited.
So let's see, the I think that was in early June, right? Like that's happening like in like a week.
It happens in June. Was it next week, or is it I think it's next week actually?
I think
is
so.
It?
Yeah. I think so. I've looked that up.
When is it?
Let's see, WWDC 2019. Because I got so many invites to this whole thing, it's just crazy. June 3rd.
We clearly came prepared.
June 3rd through the 7th in San Jose, California.
So next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
and then the week after that is E3.
Yeah. Hey, well, actually, let's because we're on Apple, we can talk about Apple with the new iPod Touch, and then we'll go to E3. So, what about the new iPod Touch? Because I heard about this, and this seems like a product of a bygone era. But I know a lot of people who still love their iPod Touches just because they can essentially replace a cell phone with it.
I'll tell you this: you are talking to the biggest advocate of the iPod Touch in the world. Like I became famous for it. The truth is, seriously, Apple used to call me and talk about it. But look, the fact of the matter is that the most interesting thing about the iPod Touch 7 is that it even exists, and the fact that it was just dumped unceremoniously. I'll be honest with you. This is the first. I've had every iPod Touch since they were released. This is the first one I will not be getting, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's been 5 years since the last upgrade. 5. And so it is not an iterative product the way the iPhone is. It doesn't need to be. It's essentially for better or for worse a small iPad. The thing about it though is that it removes a lot of the functionality from a cell phone, including stuff like GPS, touch, haptic touch, fingerprint scanners, face reader, and all that. And I believe this iPod Touch does not upgrade the screen, does not upgrade. It has a slight upgrade to the processor, and that's about it. I don't even know if there's a RAM upgrade, and I'm kind of astonished they're still doing it too. The only thing I can point to is one of two things. One, as someone who goes to the gym a lot, I notice people bring their phones and they drop their phones and they break their phones. As you should. If you go to the gym and you're dumb enough to bring your phone, I hope your phone breaks. Okay? I hope it breaks. So you shouldn't be using a phone at the gym. Stop that stuff. Just say no.
Okay.
Stop taking selfies. But another thing is, people like running. They like jogging, and they want an iPod. And there's no, we've all done this. I go bike riding. I go jogging. I don't want to bring my phone. I don't want to be disturbed. And the iPod Touch is the iPod Touch is the greatest media device of all time. If you don't want a cell phone, it basically does everything a phone does, and you could even make calls on it if you're at Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But again, like I was telling you, it gives you access to Apple's world. It gives you access to Apple Music. It gives you access to the web, every app under the sun, cameras, 4K video, all that stuff. And it's cheap. It's $200. And it's the cheapest entry point into iOS. And it's a good iOS experience. It does everything. Like there's nothing it doesn't do.
So, and memory, and when I say memory, I mean, of course, storage. Storage is just one of my biggest sticking points about Apple because just a few weeks ago, we were just talking about the 1 terabyte SSD, I think from Samsung, 1 terabyte SSD, or not even micro SD, not even SSD, micro SD. And if they can do that, and of course the entire chip, the entire storage is like $600. So I don't expect them to put a $600 chip into a $200 device, but still going from 32 to 64, I just had it up here. No, I'm sorry, 32 to 128 for an extra $100.
Yeah,
I hate
that's what Apple does.
I hate that's how they make their money.
But to be fair with you, phones do the same thing. Like there's no.
I don't like that either.
But the fact is that storage on a mobile device is very different. And the argument could be made that, on a cell phone, you have access to the cloud and you don't really have that. Think of the iPod more like a water bottle, a water bottle on a run. Like you have to prepare yourself before you leave the house. But let me tell you something, though. As someone who's been rocking an iPod Touch for 10 years, I never had a problem with storage, even on the smallest ones. I chose my library correctly. I had audiobooks. I've actually done this show with you on an iPod Touch many times. I've actually recorded
I think
from my
you bragged
iPod.
About that once. Yeah.
Yeah, more than once actually.
Yeah.
And because it does Skype perfectly, it does FaceTime perfectly. And so it's a device that if you could integrate it within your life, like for example, I recommend if you have an Apple house, get an iPod Touch for your living room. It does everything. It gives access to everything. If you turn on the Apple TV, boom, the iPod Touch becomes a remote control. It becomes a keyboard. You can play Fortnite with it. You can do FaceTime with it. You could do everything. You could do FaceTime on your TV with it if you AirPlay it. You could do everything with it. It's a nice companion device, but the upgrade isn't big enough to convince those who don't need it not to have it. And my biggest hypothesis is that they're coming out because Apple has the Apple Arcade coming out.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes sense that they want kids to have an entry point because again, Fortnite is huge on iOS. It is giant. Activision has a mobile Call of Duty coming out, and the iPod Touch is not a weak little machine. It's pretty powerful, and so again, it's a competitor. So again, you and I both know about this. The App Store, iOS games, Android games have become phenomenally successful.
It had to come out because you can't have, like you said, the cheapest entry point into this whole ecosystem. You couldn't have it be you go to your local carrier and you activate a cell phone. No, you have to have something that any parent can go out and buy for their kid, for any teenager to buy for themselves. Yeah.
Another thing is if you have like Netflix on the iPod Touch, you can download movies on it. Like it is everything. It does everything. Like it does everything except make cellular calls. And so it is for the money. It's if you don't have anything else and you want a reader, you want an ebook reader, movie player, you want internet browser, text messaging, email, Facebook. If you want your iPhone but without the cost of the phone, get an iPod Touch. You will probably be very, very happy with it. I know I have been.
So what you're saying is get an Apple Card is what I'm hearing.
I'm not saying apple cart. I'm not part of the cult.
Okay,
But
okay, gotcha. So, we have like 5 more minutes left, which should be more than enough time to talk about E3 2019, because you mentioned that you are sending your crew out there to cover E3 this year.
I'm sending my crew and I'm sending myself.
Oh, there you go. Even better. But you said you weren't attending the conference.
What's that?
I'm sorry. You said you weren't attending the conference. You were just going to be in the area.
No. I'm on the periphery.
Right.
I'm going there because there's a lot of Popzara peeps out there I have yet to meet and want to meet again.
Right.
And I get to enjoy LA. But I'm gonna, while everyone's working really hard, I'll be relaxing and taking advantage. No, it's gonna be work. It's gonna be a work time. I'll be out there, and I know we're gonna do something with Computer America out there. We got to talk about that. Arrange the deets for that. But it should be fun. I don't like E3, but people do, and I think no, I'm being honest. But I think because there's no expectations this year. I'm just going to pre-call it, and I'm going to say Microsoft. They pretty much have the show to themselves. Everyone else is pulled out. So it should be interesting. There's been a lot of Microsoft news prior to get people. I know I sent you some stories, but we don't really have to get into them. But the fact is that I think it's going to be an interesting show because I think it's going to be transitional. I think for people who want to see the future, I do think. I mean, I'm not psychic, Ben, but I think we're going to see a lot of streaming stuff. I think we're going to see a lot about digital rights.
Well, so. I like these 2 articles that we can kind of mix in here about Microsoft, and really the one that caught my attention was every future Xbox Microsoft game made for PC will also launch on Steam, which is very we had this conversation many times on the show.
Very ironic.
Very different of an approach compared to the Epic Game Store.
Well, first of all, again, Microsoft and Valve have a long-standing feud, and you had Gabe Newell, made Valve, who makes Steam, got on record that he hates Microsoft and would not allow Microsoft games on their store and vice versa, to the point where Valve made their own PC, remember? The Steam OS, which was a giant mistake. Giant. So the fact that Microsoft is now working with the enemy is interesting, but we all know why that's happening, because the Epic Game Store has become incredibly lucrative and competitive. And it's one of the reasons I love the PC so much. I love competition. And so the fact that Microsoft is choosing to go with Steam right now is interesting. It's a very calculated move. And I think, and I wonder if there's a reason for that. And so,
if nothing else, I think obviously Microsoft and Xbox have been a little bit behind the PlayStation for a little while now. And
can I give you the reality of the situation in 10 seconds?
Yeah, go for it.
The Xbox is facing extinction. And if Microsoft doesn't, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if Microsoft cares. Like I've never met any developer or anything that cares about the Xbox anymore. Like everybody kind of wants Microsoft to focus more on the PC and cede the console market to Sony and Nintendo. It's more for them. Microsoft has I've always felt this way, Ben. Microsoft has a potential to recreate the PC as the way it should have been, and I actually think all these stories are about this. You don't hear anything about the Xbox. You hear everything about Windows. And I think there's a reason for that. I think Microsoft is going to become a little more platform agnostic.
There's and really this is something that we've kind of covered in past shows with Corey Gallagher, but Microsoft Xbox approved the first keyboard and mouse. I think they're from Razer or someone else to work with an Xbox console, which has traditionally, if you used a keyboard and mouse with an Xbox console, that was like cheating. You could get banned for that. And now they have an approved device so that you could do that. And really, if nothing else, I think you're right. Either this year at E3 or in the next year or two, we're going to see the Xbox not go away, but transition into kind of like a cheap computer.
I used to say to you that you could put Windows on a Mac, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you ran Windows on a Mac natively, programs like Photoshop would run better, right? Like Windows is a more efficient operating system. It uses the cores better. I know people, I have friends who bought an Xbox One X thinking, it's so powerful, it'll make everything run better. No, it doesn't. It has to be chosen. If you could mod the Xbox One X to run Windows, games like Destiny would run better because the PC natively runs things better than a console. It does. So you have this nice console that's very powerful that is being stifled and held back by this ecosystem, this Xbox console ecosystem. And if a lot of people have these consoles, and it would be wonderful to see Microsoft take advantage of that. I think they are in they're in the best position to maximize leverage their potential, and to see them to see them pour billions of dollars into a platform that will never be number one and never be influential the way Sony and Nintendo is very sad, because it just feels like they're paying to be third place, and they don't have to do that. They have the single largest ecosystem. They have the PC. Focus on that. Focus these games, and they've already done this, Ben. They've already said everything that's going to be on the console is going to be on the PC.
Yeah.
They've said this, so they've already set the stage for this. All they need to do is make the choice to get rid of, just clip off the hardware and focus on the PC. And I think you would have a revolution. I think that would be wonderful. It's what they're good at. They're very good at this. They're not very good at consoles. And
Yeah,
I mean, they're good at making them. They're just not good at selling them.
There was an article a couple of weeks ago about how even PlayStation will be renting server space from Microsoft's Azure cloud to stream video games. So
it's very good. It's very, you know what? Xbox Live is the best online service, no doubt. You know, there's a lot of stuff they do that's software based, and I got to tell you something. I see Microsoft games on Nintendo platforms like Minecraft, and I see like some of their old Kinect stuff. I love that.
Yep.
You know, they do this cross-platform
Well,
stuff. I don't want to get into it, but you know, you have the new Call of Duty game coming out. It's going to be cross-platform between PC and console.
Can't wait for the for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, because that brings back so much nostalgia. But I will say, Nathan, we're flat out of time. We have like 20 seconds.
We are.
If people want to find out more, where can they go?
Well, popzara.com, and like I said, we got a bunch of fun stuff over there. Got interesting stuff. We're going to be doing E3 next week. Do not come to Popzara for the latest E3 news, because we are not about that. But we will have a good synopsis. We're going to be working with Ben at Computer America. It'll be fun. So yeah, synergy, Ben.
We'll definitely
synergy.
The most I can promise is probably an after show recap, but because I might be out of town.
What more do you need? You don't need any more than that.
Exactly. So everyone, hey, we'll be here Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.